Welcome back, everyone. Hope your study guides went well, and hopefully now you see some of the stuff that you need to continue to study as we move throughout this unit. We are now going to do a virtual lab. Now, before I get to the instructions for the lab, I want you to take a second and think which one you think will heat up faster. Do you think land will heat up faster, or do you think water will heat up faster? So go ahead and pause this video while you talk with your partner about that. Okay, so I want everybody to pay close attention, even though I know you are always paying close attention. Pay extra close attention, because this is a lab that I don't think I've ever had a class where someone hasn't completely messed it up. So make sure that you are not that person, that you do not have to redo the lab and restart the lab, and we can all be on the same page. So everybody focus. Okay. In a moment, not now, but in a moment, you're going to go to Canvas, and Canvas is going to have a virtual lab report posted for you, and this lab report is going to look like this. Notice the lab report says to write the data table and answers down on your own notebook paper. Okay, you've got to copy it down. Before beginning the experiment, you'll write your hypothesis. And that's pretty much what you just did. You just took a vote on which one you thought would heat faster and which one you think would cool faster. So all you're going to do is write that down here. So you do number 1, and then you write down whatever your hypothesis is. Next, you're going to draw out your data table. You're going to end up doing a graph, and then you're going to have a couple of questions that you're going to answer based on what you saw from the lab. Okay, so that's all the data or the lab is, but you will have to copy this down on your own notebook paper. Okay, the other thing on Canvas is going to be a link, and that is this link here. So we will begin the lab, and I'm just going to show you how to do this very quickly. Okay, very simple, but pay attention. You get to pick any color glove you want. Well, blue is my favorite color, so I'm going to go with blue. Okay, and it's fun, putting the gloves on, loading the lab, and then we get to start. So here we have 2 heat lamps set up, and under each lamp is either a bucket of dirt, which represents land, or a bucket of water. Okay, you also have thermometers. Now to pick the thermometer up, you click it, and you just unclick, and then you click again, and the computer will put it into the bucket of dirt or water for you. Okay, now notice, I have not done anything else. All I did was put the thermometers in the bucket of dirt and water. The first thing that my data table wants me to answer is what is the temperature of the soil and what is the temperature of the water at 0 minutes. Well, this is 0 minutes, so I'm going to write down whatever my temperature is. Okay, for my lab, it's 20.8, so that's what I would write down. So I would just put 20.8. Oops. And then 20.8. So you jot that down. Then you turn the lamps on. Okay, this is what people don't do. They forget to turn the lamp on. Turn on both of the lamps, not one, both of them. And then you hit start. So you have a timer down here, and this timer is going to time how long the lamps are on, and going back to your data table. Whenever that timer gets to 1 minute, you write down the new temperature for both of them. I cannot type. You write down the new temperature for each one, okay? New temp. You do not need to pause the timer, okay? Just keep the timer going. You never need to stop it. Whenever that timer hits 3 minutes, you again write down whatever the new temperature is. For both of them. Do you stop the timer? No. Keep it running. When it hits 5 minutes, you write down whatever the new temperature was. And then 10 minutes, same thing. You write down the new temperature. Now notice, this says 5 minutes after turning the light off. That means once it has hit 10 minutes, you have to turn off your lamp. So you would turn it off and turn it off. People forget to do this. They don't pay attention, and they don't turn off their lamps, or they turn one off and not the other. You have to turn off both. Now, what is 5 minutes after 10? 15 minutes. So again, I've not touched my timer one time other than to turn it on. So when that timer hits 15 minutes and my lamp has been off for 5 minutes, I again write down my new temperatures for those. 7 minutes after 10 is going to be when that timer hits 17 minutes, and I write down my new temperature. Okay, that should hopefully make sense as long as you are paying attention and you are checking your timer. Now, when there has been 2 minutes that has passed between these two, or 5 minutes that has passed between these two, people get distracted and they aren't paying attention and they mess the lab up. Don't be that person, okay? You're doing this independently, so you shouldn't really be talking to a partner anyway, and you're doing your lab. The other big mistake that I see people make is they're like, oh darn, I wasn't paying attention, and now I'm on minute 4 rather than minute 3. Okay, and they stop the whole lab and they start all over. Don't do that, okay? If you accidentally look down at your clock and it's minute 4 rather than minute 3, then put a little line across 3 and write in the number 4, okay? Keep the timer going. All of you should start the timer at about the same time, and that means all of you should end this lab at about the same time. It will take 20 minutes total. It should not take any longer for you to do your thing. So if you mess up, it's not the end of the world. Just draw a little line, write down the new time, and you can keep filling in your information, okay? Make sure you are paying attention and you have listened to my instructions and that you read the data table, okay? Once you are done with the data table in the lab and you've turned your lamp off and everything's cooling off, you then are going to graph your data. Now notice I drew a little thing to show you. You put your temperatures here and you put your time in minutes down here. When you do the time in minutes, the easiest way to do this, if you have your graph, is just to write down, you had 1 minute, you had, I think it was 3 minutes, and then 5 minutes. I don't remember everything that it was, and then maybe 10 minutes. And then it was 10 minutes or 5 minutes after cooling, so that was 15. And then you had 19, and then you had 20, whatever those numbers are. Instead of actually counting, just write down whatever your actual times were over here. That makes that much more simple. And then for the temperature, if I started at 20, I can just put 20 down there. And I'm making this up, but say I end at 30, then I could count by 2s or something, or 5s, going up that way. Now, you have 2 different things you're graphing. One is going to be the dirt and one is going to be the water. This is just like the Penny Lab. I'm going to do a line graph showing my dirt temperatures, and I connect all the points, and I can do a little key that says dirt or land. And then in a different color or with a different symbol, I'm going to graph the water. And then I draw my little line, and then I can color in and put this as water. So by the end, you should have 2 line graphs, one representing dirt, one representing water. Don't just draw a fake line. I will be checking your data to make sure it actually matches up. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and erase this. If you have questions, make sure you're asking people at your table or the teacher in the room, because someone will understand all of this if you have missed it. Okay. After that, all you have are just a couple of questions that is just about what you saw within the lab. So some of these you're not going to know because they are critical thinking questions. But you know everything you need to know to figure them out. Critical thinking is not impossible thinking. It just means you actually have to use your brain. So think about what you learned previously about heat transfer and apply it to what you learn in the lab today, and you should be good. When I grade this section of the lab, I am not necessarily grading if it's right or wrong. I'm grading if I see that it looks like you have thought down. If it looks like you just wrote random stuff down just to get this done, then I'm not going to give you credit. I want to see that you actually were thinking through things, that you were using information from heat transfer and applying it to here. So I do want to make sure that I see evidence of thought within this. So go ahead and pause this video while you work on your lab.